Hey guys, welcome to the 105th live show for our normal Tuesday. Sorry I'm running a little bit late. Got out of work a little bit late and had to set everything up. Didn't have it configured, so had to do all that kind of stuff. I was even going to add another camera today, but obviously I didn't. Well, not necessarily obviously, but I didn't. Anyways, hopefully you are doing okay. Today's topic is going to be when you're the target of a narcissist, to not only include your ex, but when there are other people besides that. And we'll talk about some techniques to help you deal with that and hopefully keep some things in perspective. I sent out a newsletter today that talked a little bit about that and went into a little bit more detail. But that will be the crux of the show. And I may only do an hour tonight, so I have a lot of other stuff that I need to get done, so we might have to cut it short, but we'll play it by ear and see how it goes. So let me make sure that I got everything running. Looks like my status is good, and things are going, and comments are moving, and let's see, check. Looks like I have audio, so I'm not just talking to nobody. Looks like we got a bunch of people in already, so that is great. Excuse me. Let me just get configured here. Old Shiny Road said, sounds good, and video. Awesome. Thank you very much for that, Old Shiny Road. Appreciate that. So first things, disclaimers. I am not a therapist. I am an individual who's gone through an experience much like what you've gone through and developed tips and techniques that help me deal with it that I'm hoping will be able to help you. I am, being not a therapist, none of us are able to diagnose our ex with a personality disorder. We can glean different things and make judgment calls and look at patterns of behavior, but to sit around and throw terms and say somebody has narcissistic personality disorder to other people, you need to keep that to yourself. You got to be careful of that because it hurts your own credibility when you start throwing terms around like that, because realistically, a medical professional is the only one who can make those determinations, and we need to remember that. And because when you start saying, your ex or the other person in your life who is causing problems is a particular way, and you don't have a diagnosis, you can get yourself into some trouble. So I just want to mention that. So that's what this channel is all about. If this feels like this could be something helpful for you, please consider hitting that subscribe button and ringing that bell notification so that YouTube will tell you what's going on. And I mentioned earlier about the newsletter. If you want to sign up for the newsletter, you can do that over at dadsurvivingdivorce.com. And there's a dialogue. It'll either pop up and be really annoying, or there's a dialogue on the left or on the right side of the screen to where you can do that. And if you're in the United States and you want to be on the SMS notification, you can sign up for that by texting DSD Live to 33222. And you will then be on that list, which I just sent one out a couple minutes ago saying that we are live with a direct link for the show. So I might have to think about, there's only like a handful of like 40 some odd people on that. I might ditch that because that's like $20 a month to do that. So, but let me know what you guys think. If it seems like it's valuable and it's helpful for you, I'll keep doing it. But otherwise I won't. On that, hopefully you guys are having an outstanding weekend. Like I said, let me see. We got all kinds of people going in the chat. I think I need to clean. I thought I cleaned my glasses, but having an issue there. Let me just see who we have in right now. If I can hit my buttons correctly. Oh, good. We got a lot of people. My little view counter thing isn't working, so I'm not sure what's entirely going on with that. That's kind of a bummer. But we got Old Shiny Road and Phil. Hey, Phil's back in the house. I haven't seen you in a while. Hopefully you're doing okay. James F., our moderator in chief, and James H., our second moderator. Luckily, we have a full crew of moderators. I think Debbie will be on later. She had some other things, so an appointment after work that she had to do. And let's see, Bears. Oh, hey, Bears is on, so welcome. Cy Scooby's on. Michael V., a lot of familiar faces. Tesla Bell. I think you're new. It says, hi, Miss, I'm in northwestern Florida Panhandle area. Let me make this a little bit bigger so I can actually see this. Hey, that makes it better. Make the font a little bit bigger. So, all right. Okay, so before we dive into tonight's topic, if you want to ask a question, excuse me, Just put question in front of it so I can see it. If you want to tag me, you can put the @ symbol. And if you're on a PC or a Macintosh using the web browser, it will give you a drop down of people. You can't do it on, as far as I know, you can't do it on an iPhone. You may be able to do it on an iPad or an Android. I'm not sure. But that will give you the ability to tag me and to tag other people if you're trying to talk to them. Their handle will drop down in a drop down. Okay, that was interesting. And oh look, my viewers did pop up. And then put question if you want to do a question. If I don't hit your question, just ask it later. The moderators will also follow along with that and make sure, try to keep me in check, in line, and all that kind of stuff. And maybe about halfway through the show, we'll turn on the phone line if you guys so want it, and we'll hit that button. So we've been pretty good with, James is talking about no trolls. So last show we didn't have any trolls. So hopefully we'll keep our fingers crossed that we'll have another troll. And I'm going to try to fix this little, because I configured this wrong. So let me do, this is going to look, let's see how I can do this. I'm just going to go ahead and just mash this. So this is going to make the screen look weird, but whenever it's not running because I can't see it. So, hey, that moved over and now that won't bother me. So at least over in this area over here, the number wasn't going off. Okay. So wanted to chat tonight about when you're targeted. If you guys are signed up for the newsletter, like I said earlier, I did go into a little bit more detail, but one of the things and this is going to be quick. I know last week I had a little bit more time to flesh out the idea, but what I want to talk about with being targeted, and you can be targeted by a bunch of different people. I mean, for most of us here, it's going to be our exes. But it's not limited to that. It can be family members. It can be siblings. It can be coworkers. It can be bosses. It can be, all kinds of different people. And they all operate in basically the same fundamental way. And the main thing that you need to remember or to be on the lookout is as soon as you recognize that something's not right and you feel like you're being targeted, you have to slow yourself down and recognize it so that you can not fall for the trap. And the reason is, well, I won't go into a lot of detail, but I've been dealing with this recently. And it's real easy when these people are subversively trying to target and manipulate you. Normally, it doesn't happen directly full frontal. Now, obviously, with our exes and stuff like that, sometimes it does. But what happens is typically they're able to do it rather subtly. And as a result of that, you can accidentally fall into the trap, start making decisions that you might not be thinking through completely. And primarily what I mean is you might just be reacting. You're getting your buttons pushed, boop, and as a result of that, you're having that visceral reaction, which is what they're trying to do, right? If it's happening at work, that's what they're doing. They're trying to set you up to make decisions that back up what their narrative, what their smear campaign is, what they're trying to do. That's exactly the same with your ex. Whenever they're trying to throw stuff at you saying you're a horrible person, you're a horrible parent, you don't care, whatever the thing may be, it's to get you to react. It's to get you to react emotionally instead of rationally, which typically when that happens, then they can use those reactions against you. Now, we have a lot of people, or a handful of people on the show that are on the channel who have been absolutely victimized by that. They have been provoked, they've responded in a negative way, and then their narcissistic person that's targeting them, I'll just say that so that it's not specific for relationships or work, and as a result of that, they were able to use that reaction to validate to prove their point. Now, in our situations, typically what that means is it's a custody play or it's some way to try to get an advantage in family court. If it's at work, it's to get an advantage either with the boss or to undermine your position, or if they're below you, to basically undermine you to try to get you, fired or whatever the deal is. That's the problem with it. And being able to see that, being able to recognize it and do basically the opposite of what they're trying to get you to do can be an incredible deterrent and antidote for this. And for instance, I'll use this example of with an ex with our kids. If they're trying to push you, to provoke you, to make you seem unreasonable, unhinged, so that they can make the play that you should have limited time with your children, or they should have majority custody, or worst case, they're scared of you and you're dangerous and they should be allowed to move, way far away so that they're away from you and they can be protected. If you respond in the wrong way, you can help facilitate that. Now, in a work environment, that could be to where you do something wrong and people are like, oh, okay, that's exactly what they're saying and that's wrong. And now you're being held accountable for it and there's a consequence. So I know this, I was looking the other day, last week, live show went way too long. I didn't intend for the monologue part of it to be 40 minutes. I would like to know your guys' not impression, but your feeling of like this communication compared to last week's, so I can kind of better gauge what you guys are looking for. But primarily, I just wanted to get that message out there because I think a lot of us are dealing with this and it's going to be a reoccurring thing. And sometimes it's good to have that reminder of what's going on so that we don't fall for the trap. Okay, so let me see what you guys are saying. And let me try to get my windows over here so I can see everything. Narc Alert says, beware of the monkeys. Absolutely. That and in the situation I was talking about in the newsletter, if you read that, that's kind of the deal that I'm dealing with right now. Is I have a person who's very methodical in their approach at targeting people, and employ nothing but flying monkeys, and is pretty effective at it. And it's they're able to keep themselves insulated. It's incredible to watch how people can be so easily manipulated and used by somebody like this where they don't even see it. I had a conversation with somebody this week where I was basically mapping out how they were being used, and they didn't know it until I basically pointed it out. And that's exactly what happens with the situation with our exes as well. The problem with our exes is typically it's harder with their flying monkeys to be able to dive in how they're being used. So, however, though that's one other thing to think about. Not that I normally don't recommend that you make or that you directly counter what your ex is trying to do, or the person targeting you. But if there is a way that you can slowly try to put some logic into it, not emotionally, but just try to map out a picture and see if they can see it, then try it. But be careful, because typically flying monkeys are completely under the spell, and everything you say you should expect absolutely to be said back to the other person. So let me see where we are on all the comments. I'm trying to see, I was going to put a camera right over here and show you guys all this stuff. I was talking to a buddy of mine. He's like, man, you should really do that. And I wanted to, I just ran out of time. I was just getting everything set up was putting me behind schedule. So I didn't do that. Hey, the proper person is online. Hey, Alex, glad you could jump on. All right, let me look and see what we got going on. We got Angela saying that those flying monkeys are dangerous. Absolutely. Hey, BB's online. Fly, my pretties, said my ex. Yeah, ain't that the truth? That's pretty much spot on. If you guys are new and you're not familiar, a lot of time in the narcissistic abuse recovery community, flying monkeys are used as a reference of Wizard Oz and her sending her flying monkeys. And primarily what we're talking about are people who have been, brought under the spell of the narcissist, given that smear campaign, and then they're going out as surrogates, and they're either doing one of two things. They're either attacking you and undermining you even further, or they are spies and they're grabbing information and maybe even be acting as your friend, but are using it to find out what you're doing, what you're thinking, what you're saying, to report it back to your ex. So just in case you're not aware, because I know sometimes we get some new people in here and some of these terms seem a little crazy. We get used to them, but other people are like, what the heck is a flying what? So just something to keep in mind. John Boston. Hey, John, I think you're new, so welcome to the channel and welcome to the show. It says, flying monkey, my narc used was her sister, police attorney, and a judge, and blamed everyone else. Yeah, because they don't take responsibility, and they're always the victim. Scott Connery says they are experts as what they do. Remember that. Yeah, and that can be two different ways. Either they think they know everything, and a lot of times they're pretty good at playing these games, so we have to be very cautious of it. I mean, I've even found myself to where when I'm not paying attention, even when I know someone's a narc, there are things that can happen where they are masters at saying the right thing and pushing your buttons to get you to respond, to do their bidding, which is really annoying. So, all right, let's see what else we got here. I'm going to see what's up on the live chat. Hey, tell the moms, I haven't seen you in a while, so that meant I just scrolled off. I hate it when that happens. I always start at the top. But hey, welcome back. I haven't seen you on in a while. So let me, since that scrolled over here, let me see where we're at over here. So, all right. All right. Oh, yeah, Miss Smith, his miss says, I would get riled up and then was called psycho. See, and that's the thing, right? I mean, that's a good example of what I was just talking about, because what they will do is they'll push your buttons, get you to, see, the problem is we don't generally respond rationally and calmly. Normally you get riled up and you respond in that way. And typically what they're doing is they're standing back and they're pushing the little point, the pain points on you, to get you to respond. And then when you do something like that, I mean, it's the example of whenever someone just, pokes you in the chest, poke. And then when you finally explode, they're able to go, whoa, oh my God, see, look, I can't believe they're like that. And you have to remember that. I mean, and it's like, it doesn't matter whether it's your ex or whether it's a coworker, it's along the same lines. All right, okay, I see a question, so I will grab that here in a second, but let me see where else we are on all of this. Hopefully you guys don't hear the air conditioner running, because I can hear it in my headphones, and that hopefully it's not annoying sounding. Ooh, John Boston says attorneys are used by Wicked Witch as flying monkeys. Yeah, they're the worst kinds because they're paid and they're effective. Typically, though, when they run out of money and they're not being paid anymore, then they stop. But I tell you, man, while they're on the warpath, it's not a fun experience. Okay, I'm gonna grab. Actually, let me do a search on questions so I can do these in order. And I must have spelled questions wrong because nothing came up. What did I do wrong here? Question. Oh, there we go. We got 5. All right. Let's see. Ooh, Narc asks, do all narcs target? Yeah, they do. As soon as they find somebody, and they can do it in a bunch of different ways. I mean, granted, we're talking about targeting post love bombing stage and stuff like that. But they're targeting all along, right? You're targeted from the first time before they even engage with you. They target you. They watch to see what makes you tick, and then they either tell you what you want to hear and bring you in under the fold. And then once they're done with you and they've discarded you, then they will target you to destroy you, to make you the villain and them the victim in whatever scenario they're pulling. And just to be clear, this is not just a man thing or a woman thing. It's either or. If your narcissist is a woman, they will do it. And if it's a man, they will do it too. And the only good part about this is they both follow the same tactics. So the responses, not the responses, but a way to defend it by not responding, no contact, gray rock, hybrid no contact, and that type of stuff is very effective. It also sometimes can provoke them more. So as you're getting better on things, you need to prepare yourself that they're going to ramp it up. Excuse me, because that's typically what they will do. So let me go down and see what the next one is. And I'll grab this one. The other one was small, that's why I didn't put it in a slide. So I'll put this one in a slide. It makes it easier for everyone to see what we're talking about. And let me click over here. Click. Keynote. Okay, LJ had a question. The new supply sent me a friend request on Facebook. Wow. I don't plan to accept it. What do you think about outing the narc? I wouldn't necessarily... See, here's the thing. The problem with outing them, and in some ways it can be a good idea, but here's the cautionary note is this, is depending on how you do it, it can blow back on you. And that's why a lot of times I think we're better served unless they are absolutely damaging our, are actually damaging something in our lives, not just making us mad and you know, an ego issue or something like that. But I mean, it's like their effect might get you fired, or you know, they're trying to get you arrested or something like that. That's a different story. If they're just bad mouthing you, you're better to try to phase that out. Because the problem is a lot of times when we start to try to fight them what they're doing, it lowers our credibility. We are much better served if we allow the narc to out themselves, which they typically do, and let people come make their own decisions, right? Now, like before when I was talking about whenever you could, you know, have a logical, methodical conversation with somebody, that's one thing. But whenever you start getting yourself ramped up and you start getting emotional, your credibility, as the more irritated or whatever you get, the more your credibility goes down. So I don't know if that really answers your question, LJ, but that's my normal take on that, and you just have to be careful. Remember, a lot of times they're trying to get you to respond, and engaging is what fuels them. They don't, their win-lose category or mechanism is not the same as ours. So what we would consider a win or consider a loss, their win is us engaging and getting us to play their game. Even if they ultimately lose, in their mind, they won because they got you to engage, right? So again, it's like one of those double binds to where you just aren't able to, what's the word I'm looking for? To win, right? I mean, the best way to win is to not play the game, kind of like the old war games thing. Let me look for the next question. And wow, 70. I don't think I've ever had 70. You know, that is awesome. Thanks, guys, for viewers. And last week, I think we had like up to 60 something, and that was and I didn't notice that until later when I was going through the replay. Okay, let me look for the next question. Actually, let me see if anyone. Let's see. Ryan C says they love going to the police, so be aware. They will. Hey, and that's a really good point. What Ryan just said. They will use any and every mechanism that they think is at their disposal that they can manipulate to do that. So Ryan's absolutely correct. You have to be careful because these people don't have any boundaries and will do anything that they possibly can. And the only thing that really is the caveat on that is, and I've talked about this a lot, is if they need you gainfully employed so that they can for money, which sometimes that's a good sign because then they might not destroy you. Then they might not go the full mile. But if you have an ex that does not need money from you, they will probably do everything in their power to destroy you or get you thrown in jail or whatever, because in their mind, they don't need you. They don't care about you. They just want you out of the picture. And by throwing all this other crap on there, you get more focused on trying, just your own survival, and it gives them a better chance for them to win. So thanks for mentioning that, Ryan. And I know a few people have had to deal with that. Okay, let me go down to the next one. Okay, so now I'm scrolling on the same thing again. I hate it when it does that. There we go. See, now I had to research, and now there's more. How annoying. I'll grab this one. I don't know where these are. This is kind of. This might be out of order, but I'm going to grab the next one, which is from Jack F. It says, how do you handle big special events concerning shared children, young and old? I have a lot of videos on that about sabotaging special events. I wonder if I can find any of them. I won't do that right now. Anyways, the key is what you're going to realize, Jack, is that you're going to need to basically keep your plans private. Don't bring it up. And because what'll happen is, and this is very stereotypical, is whenever if they find out what you're doing, they will do something to try to destroy it. And that could be doing the exact same thing. Like if you're planning on going to, Magic Mountain, you're taking the kids to Magic Mountain and you let them know and the kids tell the other parent, oh, we're going to Magic, they're taking us to Magic Mountain. Then it'll probably be like, oh, well, we already had tickets for that. We're going today. That actually happened. That happened to me, the year before last. And I can smile about it now, but it was not a smiling thing back then. And then the other thing is to keep in mind, Jack, is once you do something, this is what'll happen. You guys will do something with your kids. They will love it. You guys will be all happy. They will go back to the other parent. When they come back, the excitement and the joy will be gone. Make sure that you key in on what happened. I would recommend taking video and pictures. Hell, make them write a damn story about it. Something so where you can capture that moment, because more than likely there's probably like a 90% chance or 95% chance when they come back, it's going to be, well, I don't really like Magic Mountain anyways. There was too many people. It was too hot. I got a sunburn. My toes hurt. Whatever it is, and they'll come back and they'll be, and that's how they'll do it. And it's really frustrating. Like I said, I've had done more videos and stuff on that, and so hopefully that covers. I mean, that's a brief overview of that. Let me see where we are. Let's see. Okay. Ooh, okay. So Old Shawnee Road target. Let's see if I can find this. Let's see. Find Ruby. No, I'm not going to do that. I tell you what, just redo that question, Ruby, and I'll grab it, because trying to find what somebody wrote in the sea of all this is really tough. So let me go back. Okay, I did that one. So Tash Baby 16, if I said that right. Let me grab yours. And you guys will have to let me know if you want me to turn the phone lines on. And if we do, then I will hit that. So let me do this one right now. Okay. All right. So the question was, what do you think? What do you all think of doing no contact with the ex if he is your child's father? He has supervised visitation and won his appeal to drop my protective order. Now he keeps trying to talk. Tosh, it's hybrid no contact. Unfortunately for us that have children, going no contact isn't an option. Actually, it can get you in trouble too in court, because if you're not communicating at all, and they try to they'll turn around and they'll say that you're doing parental alienation and you won't communicate. And then if they can demonstrate that they're doing that, that you're doing that, then it could not bode well. Let me go over here. If you go to the main channel, you scroll down to my first playlist, which is Mindset for Narcissistic Abuse Recovery. The first video is why hybrid no contact is important. That's what I'm talking about there. And unfortunately, like I said, we do not, when you have kids, no contact really isn't an option. Now, once things calm down and stabilize and you're out of court, then you can go to a more no contact mode. I mean, that's kind of the way I'm at right now. But I mean, if there's something that I need to share, I will share it. And, but at the point now where there's zero communication, every once in a while I'm triangulated with the kids where they're like, well, you should talk to mommy. I'm like, mommy should ask me a question. Mommy won't ask me. I mean, it's like that. It's like North and South Korea. It's really messed up. But if you're in a situation where you are still dealing with court, and in your situation, Tosh, it sounds like you're in that mode, you need check out the video on hybrid no contact, and then just answer the things that are important. And when you say he keeps trying to talk, direct him to email. If you're still working on your court order, add into your court order our family wizard, our talking parents, so that there's a system for communications. That way you log into it, they send their stuff, you do it through there, and they're not texting you, they're not calling you, and they're not emailing you. If you do not have the ability to do that, then I would force everything to email and just don't respond to phone calls and texts, and do everything through email and force the issue. And they'll try to fight you on it. They will say that they don't want to do email. Why should we do email? Because it can be so much faster if we do text, or if I just call you, or whenever we're doing pickups or drop-offs. I'd also recommend, depending on how old your kids are, if you can do it at school, right? And have it be drop-offs, right? So it's not that you're picking up, that the kids, they drive them over, they get out of the car, they come into the house, they leave. You stay in the house. That way you minimize the interaction. That helped a lot in my situation. So let me get back over there. So check that out. Let me look and see where we are. Oh, look, Debbie's on. Hey, Debbie, glad you could jump on. Okay, so that scrolled up. I'm just trying to look to see where we're. See, this is what I was thinking. I could when I was reading, I could do this other this other view, but I didn't. So, okay, let me look for the other questions. Okay, I already did that one. All right, let me see. Okay, now I'm going. Oh, I think I already did that one. My searching is not working well. All right, let me go. Now I'm going in circles, and there we go. Let's see if I can pull this one up. Let's see if I can do it this way. See, now I'm having to type it in because it wasn't in the thing right. All right, let's try this one. It says, how do you balance standing up for your rights with the toxic person? That's a good question. Well, I mean, see, and it actually depends in a bunch of different ways on the context of it. So I need a little bit more information to really dive into your specific issue. But what I would say is basically it's setting boundaries. Now, the problem is whenever we're with a toxic person, they're not going to respect any of the boundaries, and they're going to push things absolutely as much as they possibly can. Okay, so I'm just trying to see why that was up. And it's tough because I'm trying to think. What you want to do is make simple boundaries, right? Like what I was talking about earlier about, okay, we are going to communicate through email. They're going to, and I don't think this is what you're talking about, but just follow the thought processes for a moment. They're going to sit around and like my ex did the same thing. She's like, well, I don't want to talk through email. I want to talk through phone. I'm like, I ain't talking to you on the phone. And in my case, this is back whenever I didn't understand all this stuff. I'm like, we talk on the phone, and then you take everything out of context and you say the conversation was something it wasn't. And then her comment was, well, I'm not going to email you because you take what I sent you. This is funny. You take what I send you, then you give it to your attorney and use it in court. I'm like, yeah, because you're a freaking idiot and you put stupid stuff in email, which proves my point, right? Anyways, so, and that's it, right? I mean, the thing is you have to have boundaries that are enforceable and that are not so far over the top that they're not going to follow them at all. I don't know if that really makes any sense. And let me see if Ruby, if you said anything else to where I can get a better idea of what the question or the context of the question is. And I do not see Ruby anymore. Oh, the other thing I want to mention is it Ruby or Rudy? It's Rudy, I get. Well, shoot, I can't remember what I wrote now because I typed it in manually. I didn't copy it. So if I'm butchering your name, I apologize for that. Hey guys, if you are using your full name, if you're using your real name in this over here, this up here is public, right? And so be cautious of that, be aware of that, and you can change your channel name to something different if you want. You can do that in your creator studio within YouTube, or you can create a whole nother account like the DSD account is a secondary account off of my main one, which is this is the only one I even use anymore. All right, let's see here. Oh, Michael V says, trying desperately to get the use of Our Family Wizard in divorce decree. Yeah, try to do it. And here's the benefit of it. Even if the other person isn't going to do it, if you have it ordered in there that they have to do it, then it's a violation of a court order right off the bat. And if you can get that early enough in, then that gives you a data point to show that they're not following the rules that have been set down. Okay. If your court order says, like in my situation, like a moron, I agree to, it said something along the lines of, it is recommended that the parties use Our Family Wizard, or they can use email if that works for them. That was stupid, because guess what? Now she refused to use it. It wasn't ordered. It was an optional thing, and she wouldn't do it. And it was like, it's too much money. I won't do it. No. And then the reason primarily I was pushing that is because in the early part of this is something else for you guys to think about and prepare for. When I would send an email, she wouldn't respond. Oh, did you send me an email? Oh, my email's broke. It isn't working. I haven't got any emails. Yeah. So luckily I haven't had to deal with that crap in a while. And in older videos, I've talked about how I've used a read notify. Wow, you know what? I think I'm still using that. I think I'm still paying for that. Basically a read notify system where you send your emails through them, and they add in code to be able to detect when the email was read, where it was read, how many times it was shared, who it was forwarded to. Well, not who, but the computers, so that I could basically remove that thing. More than likely, she knows I'm doing it, because shortly after that, the whole my email is broke stopped happening. It was also funny because in my situation, the comment would be, oh, I don't check my phone. I mean, I swear to God. Oh, see, I actually have a phone here now. Ugh. Every time I see her, she's like this. Oh, I don't check my phone all the time, so I didn't get your email or your text. And it's gaslighting, right? It's behavior to try to get you to respond negatively and to mess with you. All right, let me see where we are with. Let me get out of this. Let me hit the right button and see where we're at. Stephanie says, mine broke protective orders many times, no punishment. And Stephanie, you hit a really good point on this, which is really unfortunate, but it seems to be the case that in family court, there's not a lot of accountability. Now they can at some point really irritate a judge, and there will be some accountability, but typically it takes a long time to do it. And again, you have to be careful how you're presenting your position, because there's so much drama and chaos and misrepresentation in family court that typically the judges, they don't buy it all. Right? So it's like whenever you're saying they're stalking me, or they're doing this, or they're doing that, they're not saying, well, yes, I am. They're saying, no, I'm not, and this is the reason why. Right? So there's always this back and forth. You have to keep everything, crystal clear. Make sure you're doing everything right, so it's not a he said, she said situation. That your argument has merit and doesn't undermine yourself. And then those things will start happening. But even with it, typically what I've seen in the couple of years doing this, and even with friends and colleagues who've gone through this, is it takes a significant amount of time for anything to change. Typically the judges will be like, now, I told you not to stalk, so you need to stop it. Or next time, if I come bring you back to court, and you're thinking, next time, are you kidding me? I just spent $3,000 to sit here for my attorney to be here, and this isn't being resolved. We're going to have to he's going to have an opportunity to do it again, and then I'm going to have to come back and do this again. It's really infuriating. All right, let's see. Let me try to find, everything's bouncing around too fast for me. Darn the luck. Okay, so Old Johnny Road says, excellent question. So that's a question I probably missed. Says, I would tend to think that anything that is printed can be used. At least if you operate on that premise and communicate accordingly, you should be good. Yeah, that's actually a good idea because you, it also helps you keep your stuff in check. If you're thinking, okay, everything I say can and will be used against me, then you think about it more, right? Then that makes the whole thing with the hybrid no contact even easier, because you'll pause and take a look at it and go, okay, well, is this really the communication I want to say? Is this really is this being communicated the way I need it to be communicated, right? And there are times where I would even do this. I would write something out and it would make perfect sense. And I would go back and look at it and like, okay, I'm going to look at it with a critical eye, not coming from my point of view, but could someone read that I'm being condescending in this email? Because if you do, and it ends up, you undermine yourself. You hurt your own credibility. That's why, I mean, typically, short, simple answers, and don't go into long diatribe. You're wrong because, like for instance, if, your ex says, you don't care about the kids, you're not a good mom or dad. It doesn't serve you to sit there and say, dear wonderful human being that I spent most of my life with, comma. These are the reasons why you're not true. I do this, and I do, this, and this, but you do this, and that, right? It doesn't help you. I would look at it, and I mean, if you watch the hybrid no contact video, I'll go into more detail, but you look at it and you go, okay, you're a crappy parent. You never cared about the kids. You do this, you do that, you do this. And when are you bringing their backpack? And then you say, dear, yada, 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 comma, I will bring the backpack tomorrow. I'll drop it off at school in the morning. Period, enter, thanks, Duane, right? Don't fall for that bait. Don't go into that diatribe. Just read what the question is. Ignore all the other bullshit. Ignore all the other stuff. Oops. Demonetization. And don't go there. And the other flip side to this is that it actually shows, then it's a better contrast. It shows them, spewing all this garbage and you not responding, and it undermines their position. All right. Yeah, I almost let that slip. Sorry. I'm trying to keep things on the right path. All right. Okay, let me see where I am. Am I missing some questions? I think I probably am. Let me delete this and go to questions again. I'll go backwards. See, I don't like this because I feel like things are off when I'm doing this, but oh well. Okay. All right, let me grab this. This is from Schaefer Wand. I think she's testing me. Keynote. All right, it says, question. Codependent No More by Melody Beatty says that being codependent means that you do for everyone else but yourself to a fault. Do you agree with that assertion? Well, she wrote the book. I wrote a book on it, so I mean, she's got some clarity on that. But what I would say, the way I look at codependency is that you're validating your worth from someone else. So you need them to. Oh, I do have a caller. Oh crap! I haven't turned that on, so I'll do that here in a second. Sorry, to get back to it. So it's that in my mind, what it is that your validation comes from someone else. So when they're treating you like crap or they're toxic, you're putting up with it because you need those breadcrumbs. You need other people to validate you, which in a way, this is kind of the same thing, right? I think from what you just said in that comment, it's too clear cut, right? Because it's like, yes, that's true. You're doing stuff for everyone else, but you gotta peel it back a little bit for the reason why, right? If you're codependent, you're doing everything from someone else because you want them to validate you. You want them to say you're a good person, that you're lovable, that you're worthy, right? The problem is, A healthy person with somebody who's that clingy and codependent, you're not going to want them around, right? You're going to be like, okay, even if you dated someone like that, you're going to be like, yeah, okay, you're fine, you know, and it's like, okay, this is just too much, right? People need to be able to validate themselves. So that's my take on that, is that what's happening is yes, you are doing things to a fault against yourself. You'll make decisions that are against what your best nature is, or for your best and higher good is, to make the other person happy so that they validate you, and that then you will feel worthy because of that. Does that make sense? What do you think about that, Schaefer One? That's my take on it. So I guess in some ways, yes. I think that comment, though, it's too drilled down, and it doesn't get to the nuances in my mind. In that one comment, I'm sure the book goes into more detail. And yeah, so that's my take on that. So so you say, so it's a weakness to be codependent and should be worked on. Oh yeah, absolutely. Oh my God, yes. Thanks, Duane. Learn to say no. Good advice. That darn validation. Yeah. Oh, absolutely, Schaefer One. And see, that's the trap that a lot of us get into, is that we're not able to self-validate. I wasn't able to self-validate. I was making my worth all on the attention and the love, or the lack thereof, attention from my ex. Oh, I see Creeper Van Kevin. Hey, that's cool. You did those X's. It actually brought my eye to that. Smart move, Creeper Van Kevin. Okay, I am going to turn on the phone line because I didn't do that before. And so let me go to the main screen so I don't dox myself like I did almost the other day. And I'll go ahead and turn this on. And then I can do the callers. So there we go. And
in the host room and
there we go.
Your callers from the call-in.
Oh, sorry, I was at. Dang it! I just knocked my switcher box down. This is almost entertaining. I love it when I do stuff to create my own headaches. Okay, holy cow, that was a pain. You know what? I'm gonna move something here. I'm gonna turn. Okay, there's not really a live caller, but I'm gonna move this so that I can see it, because it's right now. It's behind my. Where is it? Is that it? No, that didn't work. Live caller overlay. Why is this not working? Oh, yeah, live caller on air. There we go. I'm going to move this right here. Okay. Because way this is set up, right where it normally is, I have my call thing on there. And the other day I noticed on a replay that I left it on and didn't see it. So now I have to, oh, not that one. Now I have to get my chat back because it's hidden behind a screen. There we go. And all right, sorry about that. Okay, I'm going to grab a caller. So sorry about that. It looks like it's Dale. So turn your speakers off on your computer and have headphones on your phone so we don't have the echo. And I am going to attempt to bring you in. Hello, this is Duane. Are you there?
Hello.
Hey, I think it's...
Yeah, Duane. How are you?
Sorry about all that configuration stuff. I'm good. So what do you want to talk about, Dale?
Well, you know, I as usual, I have about 1,000 things on my mind and 1,000 thoughts that I could possibly put out there and questions, but ultimately I just want to say, at least say thank you. I mean, for everything that you're doing.
Oh, thanks.
Made a huge impact in my life, continue to, as well as the community that you've created. Being able to reach out to everyone here and get the support on a regular basis is just priceless and has been invaluable in my recovery. So thank you.
Oh, and, thanks. Thanks for saying that.
Yeah.
So what do you want to talk about?
You bet. Well, I don't know. I mean, I could vent about a bunch of stuff, but I'm not sure that's what people want to hear all the time, but I can definitely sympathize with a lot of these comments and questions that are being thrown out there. About using anything they can against us.
Yeah.
You know, I threw my comment out there. I've spoken about this in Discord before about having hybrid no contact used against me in court.
Oh,
And
really?
yeah, what happened is, for months and months on end, this is after we separated, accusing me of infidelity and having affairs, and by the time I decided, okay, yeah, enough is enough, we're getting divorced, I said, look, I want to hear about the kids. Call me about the kids. That's okay. But I don't want to hear about anything about relationship stuff anymore. But she kept doing it and kept doing it, and eventually I had to start cutting her off. But then what she did is she adapted again and said, okay, she'd call me on the phone and say one or two things about the kids, and then jump into relationship stuff.
Right.
And I'd have to say, okay, no, I'm not going to do that anymore. And it ended up being to where I just hung up on her, and she ended up using that against me in court. And the GAL was, by the end of the trial, the GAL was lecturing me about co-parenting, what a terrible co-parent I was, and would I agree to go to co-parenting classes. And I'm sitting here thinking, this is the most ridiculous thing I've heard. And so anyway, but my point in that isn't to hybrid no contact has saved me as an individual.
Yeah.
And I would always, and I will always keep that and always recommend it. But what this has driven home for me is that they will not stop at anything, and they will use anything that they can get their hands on.
Absolutely.
To destroy us as individuals and keep their own name untarnished, etc.
Okay, that's great. And I'll talk a little bit more after I drop the call with you on that, because I want to dive into that. But thanks for the call, and thanks for that topic, because that's an important one.
Absolutely.
Okay, so here's the thing I want to. Well, hold on. Let me. Okay, this is why tying everything to our family wizard or to email only is so critical. And this is what I was talking about before when I mentioned my situation with my ex, when she was saying, "Well, I want you to call me. I don't want to talk. I don't want to do email. I want to talk on the phone." Is because then you can't tie everything she's saying. So she's able to say that you're hanging up on her, and then her attorney will say, Dale, did you hang up on her? And then the answer is yes, because you did, and it's taken out of context. So, guys, don't do anything over with face-to-face or over the phone, because there's no way to track it. There's no way to, unless you can record the calls. If you're in a state, in a consent state where you can do that. Don't do that if you don't, because you don't want to commit a crime. But email like Creeper Van Kevin just said, email only, because see, then if it boils into those other conversations, then you have the information to do that, right? And part of the problem is we still have a baseline of integrity, so we're not going to lie and say things out of a narcissist will turn around and in that situation, like take the call or just now, Dale. They will say that, well, they hang up on me. I try to call them and talk about the kids, but then they hang up on me, right? In their mind, they called and talked about the kids and they moved on to a conversation that wasn't appropriate, but that isn't what happens, right? And then if you can't get that point drilled home, and if they have an aggressive shark attorney, which they typically do, and our attorney is not sitting there defending that, and that's the only way that would work, right? Is if your attorney was sitting there going toe-to-toe saying, no, that's crap. My client was talking about the kids, your client turned around and went down this path, and that's why he hung up, right? So just try not to do anything on voice or in person. The last time a couple years ago, when I had a conversation with the ex after a Christmas event when my youngest was in last year of elementary school, she was like, "Hey, we should do this more." I'm like, "No. If you need to talk to me, send emails. I don't want to be around the demon in the first place. I don't want to be in the proximity to make any mistakes." Oh, and Phoenix says, I did not have an attorney and could not adequately defend my actions. See, and that's the problem is that if you don't have somebody who can, and it's hard for us to do it, right? I mean, you'd have to be somebody like Alex from the proper person who has his game face on and is able to articulate those things in legal terms at the snap of a finger to be able to do it. A narcissistic type attorney who can push your buttons, get you flustered, get you emotional, get you to be responding reacting instead of responding rationally, then you set yourself up for issues every time. John Bossa says, do not rely on the court gal. Have your own psychiatrist on your side, because a psychiatrist trumps a psychologist every day of the week. A gal is a psychologist in most cases. Excellent advice, and it's a good way to hedge your bets. The problem with all that stuff, John, and most everyone knows, is it starts adding to the cost. And if people can't afford it, then you're limited on what you can do. In the interview I did with, let me pull this up, with, where is it at? Expert interviews that I did with Joe Cordell in this video here, who owns a law firm that's located all throughout the country. That was one of the things he said is a big problem, is a lot of the clients do not have the resources to hire the expert witnesses and the experts to bring up personality disorders and to talk about like what I think John had said. Okay, you cannot. John says you cannot play the chord game with the psychologist you have up with their psychology. Oh crap! It just scrolled off the screen too fast. Sorry. I don't know if I can find that one. Let me scroll down. See, when I'm trying to read it, everything is moving too fast. And then as soon as I stop, it just stops. That is hilarious. Let's see. John says, then those attorneys should not be taken on these cases and let these people go to mediation instead of making these people broke. The attorneys are making these people broke. Yeah, absolutely. And I think in my situation, and I've said this before, is I think my ex ran out of money. Okay, I'm going to grab the next caller. Let me see if I can make that a little bit bigger so I can read oh, wow, there you go. That's a little too big. So, caller that's waiting on the phone, turn down your computer and hopefully you have headphones on and we'll bring you on. Hello, this is Duane. Are you there?
Hello.
Hey, how's it going?
Hi, Duane. It's good. How are you doing?
I'm good.
I don't have headphones because I'm in my car.
Okay.
So hopefully there's not an echo.
No, it sounds okay.
Okay. So today I had my court case. I'm in New Jersey. I had touched base with you a few months ago. And I had a major court case today. It was like the first real case other than motions. And we tried to mediate. It was just to try to come to some agreement before the judge actually makes any determination and it goes to trial.
Okay.
And it's almost like the cards are like I don't know about any place else, but it seems like no matter what, the cards are stacked against me. My wife hadn't worked, or my soon-to-be ex hadn't worked in 20 years of the marriage, and we have two properties. I'm in a house, she's in a house, and most of the money was bought with money that she had gotten from her parents. So she's trying to take that house and the house that I'm living in, and it's just a mess. That's the one aspect of it. But we're talking about a buyout, however that filters out. But the issue with the children is just a disaster because they're totally alienating against me. I had my 9-year-old throwing rocks at me at the last visitation. They've maybe made it through 2 overnights in the past year and a half. They pack up their stuff, they go out in the car to the point where it's just impossible. I actually had them in the car trying to coerce them to come back in the house, and they're 9 and 13 girls, and they're just so in tune with their mom that I can't even have a relationship with them. It's almost to the point where I've thrown up my hands because the one thing about the narcissist is that a lot of times they don't have anybody else. Like my ex would alienate everybody in her family, everybody in my family, like all my brothers, till the point that there was nobody left. And then eventually I was the target, which is your topic. And then she's just out to just absolutely demolish me in every aspect. And it's amazing. I was doing really well prior to, determining that I couldn't stay in a relationship anymore.
Right.
And it's amazing how you could, I had a new car, new houses, a wife, children. My business was doing great, and it's like, I felt like I was on top of the world, and it's like amazing that you go from, hero to zero in like a matter of months and be almost depleted of your finances as well. So,
Yeah.
yeah, it's a lot of hard pills to swallow, and it's really, it's just fantastic that you're available to give so much information and just week in, week out, just be in contact with all your people that you work with or that rely on you, basically. But the main thing about targeting is that my wife, her parents were elderly, and they had sold their house and came into a lot of money, and she just like targeted her dad. She would just beat him to the ground. He was, ill and staying in our basement. She would go down there and berate him, and she just basically bled every single dime that he had till the point where, she wouldn't even have the kids associate with him. He was like exiled. She wouldn't bring him up for dinners. He ended up back at his house just like, and she wouldn't even have any contact with him until, he just smoked cigarettes and drank coffee until he passed away. And I'm close with my dad, and my dad was like, and I was just like, kind of stood up for him, but I was kind of like glad that it wasn't me that was the target at the time. But
now you are.
I am absolute target. So, and she just goes through like everyone. Same thing with her mom. Her mom was sick. She wouldn't even let the home nurses, even come into the house. She'd have conflict with like everyone. So yeah, that's pretty much direct on the nail on the.
How are you doing
on
on with the mediation that happened today? I mean, what are you looking at for visitation? I hate that word, but for your time with your parenting time with your kids.
The parenting time right now is every other weekend and out to dinner visit.
Mm-hmm.
So every Wednesday for the past 2 years, I go down. It's about an hour drive. I take them out to dinner, and that's pretty pleasant. They're okay. I ask them if they need anything. Occasionally they need some supplies or, sneakers, and that's pleasant. The overnights are just a disaster. Like every one of them is a disaster. We had maybe like one good outing where I spent the day with them. I decided not to even have them over for the visitation because they basically go in the room and shut the door, and they won't even come out to eat. They bring granola bars with them and stay in the room. They won't come out into the living room to watch TV. They won't go to the movies. They're absolutely just totally poisoned to the point where they're like hateful. You're not our father. We're never going to bring our grandkids to see you. And the 13-year-old is just so poisoned that I can't even. It just filters right down to the 9-year-old. So it's almost a hopeless situation.
Are you guys in therapy or anything, or no?
I do have a therapist, and she wrote a letter to the mediator. Never even got the letter, but the judge does have the letter. My lawyer forwarded, and basically they were almost like leading me down a primrose path to sign an agreement where I'd buy her out, that I just have the kids for every other weekend, and a set amount of alimony, and just kind of like finalize it. And they were basically, her lawyers just, well, that's the way the kids were, and it's a slow process. In the 20-year marriage, the kids were just slowly positioned against my entire family, then slowly against her parents, and then eventually against me. Like it was hard for me to take them even out to go play ball with them in the yard or go scooter with them when they were little. And it just went on to the point that now that I'm the target, and the thing is, she's so isolated from everyone that that's all she has is the children.
Yep.
And they know that, so they have the sympathy for her.
Right.
They're defensive against me. So it's just I don't know. You know, the antidote is just to try to make the best out of your life. Like I've been spending time with my family and you know, kind of being okay, but it's
Yeah.
also I'm always like out of sorts. Like even
Well, it's going to
trying to
re-traumatize
function
you every
with
time it
the
happens because it's going to remind you of what you're dealing with, which is then it's just painful. But I'm
Well,
proud of you
oh, and then
for
the
continuing to still, I mean, not just giving up, right? I mean, you know, I mean, you're still doing what
yeah,
you
I mean,
can
I'm
to
not
be in their
giving up.
lives.
I just yeah, I was even the kids are in the car. I even called like I had no idea what to do with them. I'm like I didn't want to take them home because I don't want to have a continuing series of not being able to make it through the weekend, and
Right, yeah.
that's turned against me when it comes to you know litigation. They'll be like, I want more time. Well, he can't even make it through 2 days with the kids, and he brings them home, and then
Right.
it's all twisted that you know that it's my fault that
Oh
I
yeah,
can't, you
absolutely.
know, have a relationship with them. So it's so
It,
they're
is your
just
attorney
masters
trying to
of
push the
no.
parental alienation side of this? And how about reunification
Um,
therapy?
well, with that's what what my therapist we have been doing for the 2 years. Even though I was like with my kids for you know their entire lives, it was labeled reunification, which I found kind of a bit of a sick humor to it.
Right.
And it's just the same thing. They come in, you know, 13-year-olds. I'm not going to have anything to do with him. I don't like him as a person. I don't like the way he talks. I don't like the way, you know, and it's just like the same berating that I would get from the ex.
Right.
It's already whatever the borderline personality is already ingrained in her. So she's basically going to grow up and be just like, you know, her mom, who's the only influence on her.
Right.
But the therapist, I did the reunification and it's just not going anywhere because they're just so, it's to the point where they're just so positioned against me that all I could do is just, you know, meet them for the dinners. And it's even difficult to even call to talk to them because um, a lot of times she answers the phone, and it's just I don't want to deal with her at all. So there's like even no communication with us as far as parents, as far as
Right.
parenting the children, co-parenting. It's just to the point where communication between the two of us is absolutely obliterated, which it helps me in a way because that way, you know, I'm not dealing with her, and the more I don't deal with her, the better
Yeah.
I can move forward for myself. But
Yeah. I hear you on that one.
it's hard. I mean, it's no joke. It's you know, I went through a whole series of ruminating in the beginning, and you know, you could get stuck in that forever. And I've just come over so many hurdles, and it's just it's difficult. You know, there's no way around it. It's just it's scary. It's terrifying, and and the legal process is just stacked against stacked against men, basically.
Well, it's stacked against anybody. The problem is that even it's when you're dealing with when you're dealing with somebody like your ex, who is, you know, basically evil, and they will do whatever they need to do to win what they think is important to them, and for her, it's, you know, having the kids because that's her supply. But the thing is if a guy, there are people on this channel, there are women on this channel who are dealing exactly the same situation, because if that narcissist is able to basically run the board and do the parental alienation, then it doesn't matter. Hopefully, man, I wish I had some good advice for you. I mean, you sound a lot better
It's
than the
almost
last
like
time you called. What was that?
yeah, I'm okay. I mean, I was okay the last couple times. It was going back a few months, but
Yeah.
the thing with the alienation, it's so wishy-washy and such a gray area that
Yeah.
you know, even if you spend the $10,000 to get all the experts and the witnesses, it's still no determination that it's going to even have an influence. And furthermore,
Right.
to do all that, it's, the kids are still
They're still turned.
completely. There's so much venom in them that it's. I do that, and then what would be the outcome? An extra couple days, a month, or you know?
Yeah. No, the only way, I mean, the only way it would
the-
really, really work is if the system turned around and said, yes, they're being parental. And this has happened in other situations where the one parent gets slated as an alienator and they are removed completely from the kids' lives, and the other parent gets the opportunity to do it. The problem is one of two things happen in that situation. One, you actually reunify and you're able to rebuild the relationship with that child, and typically then the other relationship is destroyed. Or the child is still so venomous against the other person, like in your situation, like if they were against you, and it just makes your life a complete nightmare, and it's not going, and then what's going to ultimately happen? It's bad all the way around. And family court doesn't get it right. The problem is that it needs to be addressed as soon as it happens, right? I mean, that's the thing. It's like as soon as the separation happens, it needs to be 50-50 with equal time and already just baked in, so that there's not this 2-year situation where they've been conditioned. I mean, they were conditioned before, like you said, but to where now they're even conditioned more. I mean, the problem is,
you were able to do that.
Yeah, I was lucky.
To immediately step in and recognize it. A lot of people come out of it just like I came out of it. I was in a severe depression for like a couple months before I really had to get like a lot of mental health. I spent like all last winter just on my own mental health, just to be sound enough to even function as a human, let alone, and I still had the visitations, but I was actually checked myself into the hospital with depression I didn't know where else to turn, but I'm okay, that was back then, and that's just like a hurdle that was, a year ago,
right.
But the court system really doesn't seem to, it's right there in front of them, and basically she said, well, we'll go along whatever the therapist suggests. If we had finalized some sort of agreement, that was the mediator's solution, was to just go with the recommendations of the therapist that I have been going to, which she's totally I'm the one that's been going to her with the kids for, over a 2-year period. So she's more like, I didn't even read the letter, but it's really states that clearly that there's alienation going on, but it doesn't seem to really matter.
Well, yeah, and sometimes what courts will do is they'll turn around and they'll say, well, there's alienation, but the kids will be, more stable in that situation. What is your attorney saying? I know.
Exactly. Basically, it's tough. He's basically he's like, if it was a baseball team, you're like the Padres, and she's like, say now the Red Sox, where it's just that much. She hasn't worked in 20 years. The kids are actually in a good environment. She's not like abusive in any physical, but just, the mental stuff is always there. There's always any arguments where I was trying to defend my daughter against gaslighting since she was little, and it just like I was always like, this isn't, you're insane, It was just so, and that went on for like, I just dealt with it for years just to maintain being a father. I mean, I was really happy, but I had to continually jump through her hoops just to survive and stay in the relationship.
Yeah.
So it's kind of amazing that I had actually got out of it,
Yeah.
Looking back, I mean, it's like, wow, that could have, the next 20 years of my life, I'm going through this at 50, I'm 52, and I'm like just going through this. This could go on for the next, 2 or 3 years, and even with the alienation, by that time, my daughter's going to be, 17 years old. So it's just,
well, and
it's just like constantly fighting like 1,000 enemies by yourself, like a Schwarzenegger movie or something. It's just
that's funny. No, I hear you. And but I mean, what you mentioned right there is the, I mean, the gift we get out of it is getting out of it and not spending another 20 years or the rest of your life, or you being the person in the basement who finally just drinks and smokes yourself until you finally just pass away. What a horrible existence that is, right? I mean,
And her dad, she like totally berated him like he was, dirt on the bottom of her shoe.
yeah,
He gave her like the last, the last $30,000 that he had in a birthday card to her, and she basically yelled at him that that's not the appropriate way that you give somebody money. It wasn't like thank you. It was just like just totally destroy him down to nothing. I mean, he was a World War II veteran. I go over to the house all the time. I've spent time with him, watched the football games, and he treated me like I was, more of a son than a son-in-law, because Sharon was just the only child, and it's just so messed up
yeah,
on so many different levels. But yeah.
yeah,
But a part of you always, I don't know if this is how you feel, but a part of, like, you probably had a lot of great times as a family together when you were in the marriage. Like, as long as I was able to,
appeaser.
weave and dodge, we had actually, as long as I conformed to the way that she wanted everything
Mm-hmm.
and every demand, then, we could go to the beach as a family. We could go to the boardwalk. We went to fall festivals. We had years and years of, actually being happy in 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 those parameters. And there's always like maybe a 5 to 10% that said, well, you know, could this have worked? But it couldn't have. You know, you just wish it could have.
Yeah.
Because the alternative isn't that much better. The whole litigation and the whole process, and never being a family again, is just like a reality that you have to really come to terms with. Uh,
Yeah. No, I hear you
it's
on
just
that one.
it's a reality. You could live in a wishy-washy state where you're like, well, and never get over it. That I don't know.
Yeah.
It's you have to just say that's it.
Yeah.
That what's real, what's not real.
Yeah. Exactly.
So,
Hey, I'm
but
sorry.
I'm real.
What's your name again? Because I can't. I know who. I mean, I know we've
John,
talked, but
John,
well, John, right?
yeah, I was in the.
Okay.
I initially got in contact with you like I don't know, like last year over the winter. Like
Yeah.
I was
No,
in
I
the Air
remember our
Force.
conversations and you called in and
Everything.
stuff.
It's
I couldn't.
amazing that you.
I was
I
drawn.
mean, you have right. Yeah, I'm up in New Jersey. I was, back
Prior
in the Air
service.
Force in the '80s. Like
Yeah.
the we talked about, communication. You were in like
Yep.
radio, and I just like, initially I was like, this guy must have been in communications with the Air Force, or
I was just
something.
drawing a
So
blank on the name. I remembered the story. I just couldn't remember your
yeah.
name. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I worked in the command post, and actually I was a command and control specialist, so I was like in a position to handle any circumstance that would happen on a Air Force base on several different levels, and stay in control and you know um, of my environment. And it's just amazing that another person could actually be so manipulative. I was
Yeah.
trained. That was my job, command and
Yeah.
control, and I was actually completely manipulated throughout this entire marriage. Uh, but I was aware of it. I did whatever I did to survive. I went out and always did my own thing. But it's amazing. It's amazing that they could just, it's just brainwashing.
Yep.
Absolute brainwashing.
Yeah. Absolutely. All right. Hey, John.
So,
Thanks for calling. I appreciate it.
yeah.
I'm.
And thanks for everything you do. Please, I'm so glad that you keep it up. I've been tuning into all your live feeds and everything. It's just
Oh,
you're
thanks.
tremendously like one in a million that could actually relate to so many people. I do listen to other anything any information I get from other people, but
Hmm.
you are like above and beyond, the Call of Duty. You're awesome. So
Well, thanks, man. I really appreciate that. I appreciate the support.
Okay.
So,
All right, you too. Good luck with everything you're dealing with. Also, it's just it's hard to just to put into words and to state. It's just something that
yeah.
you have the natural ability just to put into perspective, and it's something that isn't easily put into perspective.
Thanks. I appreciate that. Okay. He hit on a point, or he hit on a couple of points, but one of the things I want to finish up with on that is a lot of times I'm trying to think of how to word this, but they get jealous of anyone else having a relationship. When they have kids, a lot of times they'll use them as pawns, and they use them as supply, right? I mean, that's where a lot of this comes from, is we were talking about before about the codependency, they're getting their validation from the kids. That's what I think happened in my situation. Is it wasn't so much about other things, but it was like, her self-worth was completely wrapped up in that. And, we can only do so much. Well, the other thing I was going to mention on this is that in that situation, it makes sense that the kids would be this way. I mean, think about it. You're painting a story where the kids are growing up in a situation where people are victimized and ridiculed and put down. And if you are the target of the narcissist, then you are the next, you're the next black sheep, and they don't want it. So whenever that person seems to have all the control, whenever it appears that you're going to be there, the kids have to do everything in their power to maintain their status so that they're not systematically targeted as well. And I mean, that doesn't necessarily make it any better, because it doesn't fix the problem, but I hope that it at least puts it into some perspective that you're talking about a child who is still, isn't an adult, who still doesn't have the ability to comprehend adult things. They're just surviving. And if you have a situation where, I mean, John was even talking about how his he would protect his child from their mom, but they're growing up seeing that the leader, the person who's in control, the person who really calls the shots, is this toxic personality type, and they're going to be fearful and they're going to protect themselves. So, all right. So I'm going to go ahead and shut the phone line down, and we're going to have to wrap this up here a little bit, because like I mentioned earlier, I do need to get going. But let me look to see where we are with some of the comments. At least I just didn't dox myself again like I did the other day. And oh crud, I just did that wrong. Dang it, I hate it when I do that. Okay, my shows. Host show. Delete. And end show. That's what I got to do. Okay. All right. So sorry about that. I made some mistakes on that. Okay. So let me see where we are with some of the comments. Sorry about that pause. That was really, I hate when I do that. See what we got going on here. Oh, I wonder. So Angela had asked to Alex. I don't know if Alex is online right now. Says, can anything we say on public social media be used against us in court? The answer is yes, absolutely it can. And depending on the type of situation, there have been situations where the courts have ordered people to hand over their Facebook and stuff passwords. So that's why it's very important to minimize what you put out there publicly. And especially on Facebook and Twitter and stuff like that. I mean, I guess even YouTube. It's a little harder to get in YouTube because, the system isn't set up to easily pull everything you put out there. But, so yeah, be careful of that. Let's see. All right. Okay. Oh, Alex was on. So I don't know if Alex did answer that or not. Oh, Joe was trying to post his email. Hey guys, here, if you're trying to get a hold of each other, through this, I would highly encourage you not to put your public information out anywhere on this. Use the Discord. The Discord, let me jump over here. If you go to the main page on the Dad's Farming Divorce channel page, this icon over here is the Discord invite, which is it's a online excuse me, system for chatting, and it'll pull up the invitation to get in, and it's a big chat room that you can still use your handles, right? So I mean, if you're like Old Shawnee Road, I'll just use him because that's not his real name. That's what he's using on Discord. You don't have to use it on Discord, but then you can get there, right? So like you've seen some people who say, oh, I'm this on Discord. Then you can get in there. It's separated from Facebook, from Twitter, from everything else. It's a standalone server unless you're using Discord for other things. A lot of times people use it for gaming. But then you can send direct messages to people. There's a bunch of different channels for you to talk about different topics. You can actually voice chat through it, so that way you don't have to give your phone number to anybody. You don't have to give your email to anybody. That way, and I've made a mistake. I have made mistakes of sharing, my personal phone number and stuff with people, and that's been something I'm not going to do again because, once you do it, you can't really undo it. So I think it's good to have like an escrow type area, like what I'm talking about with Discord, to where you can get in. You can chat with people, and if you decide that it's not for you and there's somebody there who is not, if somebody's stalking you or doing something wrong, I can boot them out of the channel. Once they know you, I think you can block them, but you have a lot more flexibility. And if you're even if you're talking to them voice chat over Discord and you decide it's inappropriate and you don't want to do it anymore, they don't have your phone number. They don't have your address. They don't have your real email or anything like that. JS says, Duane, I wanted to send you an update. I'm going back to court Monday. X is sharing with the children court dates, hearing results, and his unhealthy perspective on things. My children are confused. Oh, man. Yeah. It's tough, and they're not supposed to do that. And you've had not much luck in having him held in contempt on anything. So, man, that sucks. But you said you're going back. Did you say Monday? Monday. So, Schaefer one says, sometimes I get locked out of Discord. The times I'm able to log in, I don't know what I did. Usually I can't see any of the categories, but the one original that you land in. Well, here's the other thing. I'm glad you mentioned that. Here is the thing, and this is one thing that's a little weird. Let me go back on this. This is an invite thing. You want to use it one time, and then you either want to download the application or you want to download the app, either the app for your mobile or the app for your computer, okay? And then when you do that, every time you open it, let me see if I can, let me go back here so I don't show whatever. Let me see if I can pull up Discord. I'm actually not running it, so I'm going to put it in or pull it up. But what happens is you guys are, come on, I'm hitting the wrong button. Why is this not working? It's not letting me do it. Oh, there we go. I just hit the wrong one. Okay. So when you, let me see, make sure I'm not, I'll go here. And I'll turn this off, and then I'll go into the rules. Okay. So when you have the app, when you log in, when you open the app, it's going to open up in your instance of Discord, and then, oh, damn it. Hold on. I just accidentally locked my computer. You're going to pull into it, and then it will give you all the channels, right? So you'll have, like I have 3 different servers that I'm on. I have my server and these 2 right here. This one's Alex's, by the way, for gaming. And then you'll have, once you're in, you have all the different channels. And I have them. Let me just do this. So, and you have the general public one. That's public for everybody. So if you follow that link, you will get into that. So you will be able to interact with people in there. Once I figure out who you are, then I will add you in. Like Schaefer wants talking about only seeing that. When you go in and you create a new account, well, then it's a new account and it hasn't been validated yet. So there's a few people who've had like 3 to 4 different accounts, and that's why. So you want to use the app. You can use the website, and if you use the website, so let me come over here for a second, and let me just move this out. Well, let me try to move this. This is not moving. Why is this being difficult? We come over here and we go Discord. If you go to Discord app, or even if you just go to discord.com, it'll take you basically to the same thing. It gives you the option. I'm on a Mac, so it gives me the option to download for iOS or for Mac OS. Sorry, if you can open it in what do you call it? And this is probably, yeah. See, this is my test account. So I have the DSD server. Let me just get over here so I'm not trying to get out of this. Well, I have the accounts because it's a test server, but typically I was testing this before where you only get the one thing. But that's what'll happen is you'll come in, you'll have this server, you can pop into it. If you wanted to send a message, so like, let me see if I go to rules and I wanted to send a message, even though to me, right? I could come here and I could say message and directly message, and I'm showing other people's names I don't want to, but that is, oh, okay, I'm getting confused because of my cursors being replicated. Anyways, my point is the problem is you're following the link twice. That's the thing, right? So that's what I wanted to say on that. So on that, I kind of went, let me look to see where we are. How do we get to the server? You follow that invite link I told you about on the main page. You go to the you can either do it off of my website. Let me do that real quick. You can go to the website. Here's that newsletter thing I was talking about, which is dadssurvivingdivorce.com. If you scroll down, you can also get to it by hitting connect here. That'll get you on as well. Yeah, and then you can interact with people. It's a great way to do it, and it's secure-ish. I mean, what I mean by secure is you're not having to give someone your personal email. You're not having to give them your phone number. You're not having to give them your personal Facebook account. You can be Twin Baby 75, and as long as you're also that on YouTube, so they know who it is, then they can find you on that. Okay, so I kind of went in a thing on that, so I think I've kind of beat that one to a pulp. If you're having problems, email me, Duane at dadssurvivingdivorce.com. You can also do it from the website and Duane or dadssurvivingdivorce.com. There's also a way to email me there. All right, guys. On that, I need to run. So I needed to get off about 10 minutes ago. So I hate to cut this short. Hopefully I'll see you on the Discord. If the moderators could jump over on the Discord, because I do want to do a quick outbrief on that, I would appreciate it. On the whole thing about being targeted, just keep it in perspective. Stay calm with what's going on. Reach out to people on the Discord if you're really struggling. Send me an email if you need to, and just know that you can get through this. And, although like John was saying earlier on his call, sometimes it feels like, you're playing a number one team and I don't even know the terms for the sport, but you're not one of the high level teams and you're going to get creamed. It doesn't mean it's the end of the world. So on that, guys, have a great night. Thanks for hanging out with me. Thanks for the callers. I would really appreciate some feedback on how you guys like this compared to the last one, whether you think the slide thing would be if I need to do that more. I did make some changes with the way I'm able to get online during the day. That has really helped. That's one of the reasons why I was able to actually send the newsletter out today, because that's given me some capability that I didn't have before. And on that, just stay strong, guys, and we'll chat on the next video and the next live stream. Take care. Bye.